What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the German Barrel Podcast. And today we want to talk about the Chicago Bears edge rusher rotation and talk about if Ryan Poles has to reach out to a couple of free agents or if the Bears are in a good spot going into the 2025 season. With the Green Bay Packers trading for Micah Parsons and also the Bears struggling in preseason week 3 on defense against the Kansas City Chiefs, the situation is very interesting going into the 2025 season, and some fans have very little confidence into the edge position for the Chicago Bears. Now, with the Micah Parsons trade, real quick about that, I'm not too worried about it because they pay so much money to two players, but at the same time, Micah Parsons is one of the best players in the NFL, so the NFC North just turned even more into a slaughterhouse, and it's going to be a huge challenge for the Bears in 2025 and moving forward to compete in that. Now, I think as Bears fans and as the Bears organization, I can maybe speak for them too, you gladly accept that challenge. You want to compete with the best, and if most of the best are in your division, that's a great challenge to see where you are at, and you can measure yourself against that every week almost, right? So that's a great challenge for the Bears. It sucks a little bit for the Bears tackles. So Braxton Jones' left tackle position is a little bit iffy, but I think that's something you have to accept. But today we're talking about the defense a little bit, about the edge rusher position, and just the depth behind Montez Sweat and Dayo Odeyingbo. Now, before we want to do that, quickly for Dayo Odeyingbo, I did a in-depth breakdown of him, his All-22 in 2024, and what he's going to bring to the Chicago Bears in 2025, what to expect from him, and I also did a in-depth breakdown of his contract. So if you're a little bit confused with his numbers, if you really think he's an over $40 million deal type of guy, then check out that video because it breaks down the numbers. It is not a over $40 million contract, okay? And also, I do think Dayo Odeyingbo is going to be a very good player that the Bears fans are going to appreciate moving along the 2025 season. It was one preseason game. People overreact like crazy to that performance, and I don't know how much they really cared, those players, in preseason week 3 with a contract being settled, having a roster spot secured. So I don't know how much to make out of that performance. It was not great, I agree, but I think Dayo is still a very good edge rusher that the Bears can use in 2025 and moving forward. But my biggest concern personally is the depth behind those two edge rushers. You only, right now on the roster, have Daniel Hardy and Dominique Robinson as edges listed behind that, and Austin Booker, the standout second-year man, is on IR and only available by week 6 of the regular season. So there's a huge hole right behind that. You don't have a lot of players that you can rotate with, and honestly, I don't want to see Dominique Robinson or Daniel Hardy on the field too much in meaningful snaps in 2025. So with that being said, today we're going to look at 3 edge rushers on the free agency market that I think are great additions to the Bears if they can get one of those, and they will help to bring in, first of all, a veteran presence to the room, but also some pass rush productivity and a good rotational piece. So with that being said, let's talk about Za'Darius Smith. And Za'Darius Smith, to me, is the most attractive option out of all of those 3 that I'm going to mention today. He is 32 years old, will be 33 by the start of the season, but with him, it kind of seems like age doesn't matter. He's one of these pass rushers that can probably play up to a higher age level, and he has had a very productive season still last season. Now, last season, what does that mean? 2024, he started off with the Cleveland Browns, had 5 sacks for them, and then got moved to the Detroit Lions and had 4 sacks to finish out the season for them, which leaves him at 9 sacks for the 2024 season. Now, with having a stint with the Detroit Lions, that also caps him at 3 teams that he had stints with within the NFC North. He obviously was a longtime Packer. I hated him when he was on the Packers because he was so damn good. Then moved on to the Vikings, had another 10 sack season, and then last year had a stint with the Detroit Lions. And let's just complete the ring of NFC North and get him to the Chicago Bears. That's what I'm saying. Now, for his last contract that he signed a big contract, a 2-year, $23 million deal with the Cleveland Browns, which is an average salary of a little bit over $11 million. I think the Bears can get him in for about $8 to $9 million. I think You expect him to regress a little bit. He's getting up there in age, so that's your argument for the contract. And for that deal, you're getting a pass rusher that's highly productive. Throughout his NFL career entirely, I think he's the guy on this list that still has the most juice. He still looks very good rushing the passer. It doesn't look like he lost a big-time step to his prior years, and I don't see why you would not want to have Za'Darius Smith on the roster. Now, for Za'Darius Smith himself, I think he's never won a ring before, so obviously it's the question if he wants to sign with a team that probably isn't looking to go to the Super Bowl in 2025. Even though I'm a Bears fan, we got to be a little bit realistic. North is a slaughterhouse, and I think a big goal is just to be third place and get above 500 and maybe sneak into the wild card. But that's also high expectations for a first-time head coach in Ben Johnson. But I do believe in the guy, so I think it's a possible goal for the Chicago Bears. But Za'Darius Smith, for me, option number one on the free agent market right now. Option number two, also a pretty familiar face to NFC North fans, especially to Packers haters or fans, and that is Preston Smith. Preston Smith, obviously also a longtime Packer, played alongside Za'Darius Smith, and is to me a good option to be a number 2 edge rusher opposite of Montez Sweat, or a number 3 edge that will rotate with Dio and Montez Sweat, and is a guy that has definitely benefited from the presence of Za'Darius Smith during their time at Green Bay. So I don't think he's a number 1 edge rusher, but he's a good rusher on the opposite side of a number 1 edge. Now, he, for his last year's performance, finished the season with the Pittsburgh Steelers after starting with the Green Bay Packers. Finished the year with 4.5 sacks, 2.5 on Green Bay, and 2 for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and has been a very productive edge rusher throughout his NFL career as well. Just like with Za'Darius Smith, he's also going to be 33 by the season in the 2025 NFL season. So same age, similar player. I think not as good, but a big, heavy edge setter. So also a guy that would fit into the system of Dennis Allen and into his archetype of edge rushers. And then for the last guy that we want to talk about today, the first non-Packer that we're going to talk about today is Jadeveon Clowney. Clowney, a very good edge setter that has been a little bit underwhelming throughout his NFL career, talking about sack production. But I mean, the guy still has 58 career sacks, so, I mean, the standard is pretty high if I'm talking like that. But he had pretty good productive seasons for the last 2 years now. In 2023, signed a $2.5 million deal for 1 year with the Baltimore Ravens. That panned out, had 9.5 sacks. And then signed a 2-year, $20 million deal last year with the Carolina Panthers. Had a pretty productive season, 5.5 sacks for them last year, and was one of the lone bright spots on that defense, which was a pretty tough one to watch, to be honest. So Jadeveon Clowney, not my favorite option. I like the both Smiths a little bit better than Jadeveon, but if there's nothing else on the market, I think he would sign a deal in the range of $5 to $8 million. You take that any day of the week, and it's just another player that you can rotate with. So Jadeveon Clowney, another name that I want to get out there. Also age-wise, 32 years old. He will turn 33 by February 14th next year. So those are the 3 players that I think the Chicago Bears could use on the roster as late free agent signings just before the season, or maybe even during the season. If they realize against the Vikings that's not enough pressure to get J.J. McCarthy uncomfortable, then we're in a big trouble spot. We got to get someone in. Those are 3 players that I would look at if I'm Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears. And with that being said, guys, that's the end of today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. Definitely let me know in the comments down below what you think of these 3 options at the edge position, or if you overall think the Bears should even bring something in for the edge rusher position, or if they're good moving forward for the 2025 season. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, completely free. I would really appreciate it. And I see you guys in the next video. And as always, guys, bear down.